So I'm going to go quite fast because I think everybody's tired and you had already a lot of PowerPoints. So it's not the first time I give this presentation. For the ones who were in the flash game, the last one, it's the same one, so you can leave. So what I want to talk to you very quickly is nothing really, I mean, it's really practical observation. So this observation can come from our experience as a publisher. Originally, SixWave was a developer, like most of you here. We developed a viral application. We built a very consequent customer base, and at some point, as you know, we merged with Rolapps, Ravenwood Fair, and we have basically one publishing activity, which is what I'm here for, actually, to find successful developers like you, people among you, and go to market together. And on the other hand, we have also this Ravenwood activity where we develop games and we try to do our best. So what I want to talk to you about is, as we have seen in the, I mean, unraveling this year and also for next year, it's the new changes in the market. So I'm going to speak only about what I know. It's basically Facebook market. The Facebook market has been changing significantly this year. It will probably change also significantly next year. And I just want to share some of the major changes I identified. So this is the agenda. This is 6 major changes. It's not the only ones, of course. I just go to the main ones. Regarding games, what we have seen is actually a double effect. On one hand, there's social game developers from former successful social networks which are declining, which are coming to Facebook. So we have seen MySpace, which was really strong in the US, Orkut, which was strong in India and in other regions like Turkey. Basically losing a lot of users. So all the developers from these markets are actually turning to Facebook. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have seen very browser game developers, very hardcore, actually coming to Facebook, to casual games, because they see it as a very interesting and very promising market, and also complementary to their activity. So the games we have seen very successfully launched right now in Facebook reflect that change. So we see games which are very casual, like Visual, being very successful, or Hidden Objects. And on the other hand, we see like more hardcore game like Sacred Season, Metal Story by Nexon, which were actually very hardcore developers actually coming to Facebook as well. And also there's 3D Unity platform games like Nova and Uber Strike, which is published by us actually. That's why it's on the screen. And they are also coming to the market. So on the end, you have very casual games from casual developers coming to the market. On the other hand, you have very hardcore games coming. And I think, as we can see, this new blood has brought a lot of value to the market. For example, the hidden objects, which didn't exist in Facebook, is proving very successful. We personally are publishing a game called Mystery Manor, which is actually doing a lot of good to our finances. So it's really a style which probably it's not too late to launch stuff to launch new games in that area. Puzzle, everything, which normally was not considered as casual, actually seems to be, seems to be interesting, and it's monetizing quite well. Of course, you have to adapt. You have to adapt it. You cannot launch it as it is, but it's still successful. One of the big trends is branding. In terms of branding, there hasn't been any conclusive evidence that the branding was actually helping a game. So stop paying license fees. I don't think it's a good spending. But on the other hand, we found out that branding helps on some aspects, such as monetization, such as leveraging an existing customer base, and it's really about improving the financials of the users you have, because people are more willing to spend money when they know the brand you associate the game with. Of course, it doesn't replace a good game. You still need a good game. But in the end, if you have a good game plus a brand, you can hope, not that it's going to be successful, but hope that the game will monetize better if you do what it takes. So I'll give you some examples. Brad Paisley is a very famous unknown in Europe, but actually in the US. It has a very big customer base. He's a country music singer. So, believe it or not, of course, since he had a big fan base on Facebook, we decided to make a game out of him. And it's actually a very simple and cheap way to acquire customers. I mean, 2 million users. When you know that the cost of a user on Facebook is about $1 US, it's a lot of money. I mean, you can, if you have a customer base of 2 million users as a start, it's pretty useful. You can cross-sell a lot of things out of this. Another thing which has been very successfully leveraged in terms of branding is the TV shows. So the first one was Family Feud, and then there was several others. Exactly in the same, based on the same principle. You have a famous TV show, you have a famous game, you have a famous whatever, and you just basically create a game out of it. So the success of it will depend on the quality of the game, but it definitely helps. In terms of sports, in 6 Way, we are publishing a game about this guy who's called Kobe Bryant. So remember, if you play the game, it's like you're becoming a friend with Kobe. Remember it? No, but basically the idea is Kobe Bryant has a lot of fans all over the world, and that's why we're trying to leverage. So we are publishing a game where you can actually see film about Kobe, you can play, you can feel like Kobe, and we hope it's going to actually improve not just the success, it's not going to ensure the success of the game, but at least it will improve the monetization of the game. Finally, the last frontier is branded virtual goods. So there, you don't even need to create a game based on a concept. You just need a game and you associate a concept with it, an idea. And there was several examples. For example, Snoopy Dog, he creates this beautiful little avatar, which you could play with it. So it sounds like nothing, but they made $200,000 US with this. So I'm just selling this little stuff, virtual items. So I guess, I mean, even if you don't like it, it deserves some respect. So one thing is when you do a game, look at any kind of monetization opportunity. I mean, especially brands, existing brands, as long as you respect the, I would say the user interface, you respect the user playing time, you can do a lot of things to generate more revenues. Okay, another trend coming up, which has been coming up actually, it's the, you know this one, it's from a movie. It's the Facebook, which is now predominant on the Facebook platform. So one thing which is quite important is it's a threat for many developers, but it's also an opportunity. The opportunity is, as a publisher, we have no religion, in the sense that as long as we make money out of the games, we don't make it a question of pride or whatever. We just observed, and we observed that since we implemented Facebook credits in most of our games, and we publish about 30 games, we have seen an increase in pay rate. Why? Simply, what Facebook has not only simplified the payment process, and also the name is more familiar to most users, so they are more willing to spend with Facebook credits than with gold credits from Nugget or whatever. So it's actually more easier for the user to spend, but also they can actually, what they haven't spent in a game, they can spend in another game, so it's much more easy for them to use. So in the end, also Facebook has launched several initiatives. One is, of course, they have increased the number of payment media user can use worldwide, so that means users are actually being able to buy Facebook credits for many other ways than it used to be. But also they have launched initiatives such as frictionless credit payments. So what it means is for payments which are less than 30 euros, people for the Facebook credits actually, people don't have to leave the game to make the payment. They can actually pay inside the game. So all these initiatives are only possible because Facebook credits is the only currency across all the games. So it has some benefits as well. Buy with Friends was a very interesting initiative, which I'm not sure has been successful yet, but at least it's a good direction. It was social payments. So if, for example, Dimitri makes a payment, then there will be a posting that he made a payment in such game to all his friends, and his friends who are playing the game can actually buy the same item with a discount. So it's an interesting initiative. So one thing is, this Facebook credit thing has enabled a lot more, and there will be even more initiatives coming from Facebook actually to improve payments, and therefore the revenues of the developers. Fourth element, monetization. Monetization, as I mentioned to you, due to Facebook credits, due to the increased quality of the games, we have seen actually an increase in the... So as you can see, there has been an increase in monetization. So we have seen that take two forms actually. On one hand, the paying rate of the games has definitely increased. Since these changes have taken effect, in general across the board, most developers, the major developers, have seen their MAU, the monthly active users, so basically their customer base more or less flat. And this has been actually compensated by the increase in payments. So people are spending more. When I joined the industry, I would say a year and a half ago, just after I joined the industry, the pay rate was probably 1%, 2%. Now it's probably on the last games we launched, it's about 6% sometimes. It depends on the regions, but it's much higher. It's 2 or 3 times higher. The other change has been the increase in ARPU. The games are better monetizable. There's more opportunities to pay in the game, and also the incentive for paying has increased. So we have seen also an increase in ARPU. So overall, despite the fact that the normal customer base in the industry is more or less flat right now for most developers, the revenues have increased tremendously, and there's still a large potential for increase. As you know, the ARPU or the ARPU in the industry, so the average revenue per paying user, is still very low. It's like $5 to $10 US per month. So there's still a large, on average, so there's still a large potential for increase. When you know that in most web browsing industry, the ARPU is about $100 per month. So there's also, I mean, a lot of hopes for developers to actually make revenue in that industry. Elements. So one of the big change which has been taking place about for the last, actually since the beginning of the year, has been the shift in the Facebook market. Until now, most of the Facebook users were actually located in the US, in Europe, and in Taiwan for the Asian market. And actually these markets, which started much earlier, have been more or less stagnating. So when you're a developer, never neglect to, the emerging markets. Actually, that's where the Facebook, it's the only area where the Facebook users are actually increasing. And of course, Facebook user means game user. So right now, these are the emerging, the most interesting emerging markets for Facebook. Russia. We haven't seen a net decrease actually in most of the Russian social networks like Moimir and vContact. But on the other hand, I'm not sure the networks have actually increased. On the other hand, Facebook has increased tremendously. We have seen some increase in Turkey, in Brazil, South America, and in Saudi Arabia. The market in Saudi Arabia is not so big, but if you count the Middle East, it's actually interesting. So when you launch a game, always think about these markets, think about localization. Don't try to get into the markets which are not growing, because competition is of course more dire. So US, Europe is already very saturated market. Try to target the growing markets. It's much easier for you to grow, and it's going to be much cheaper actually. Platform conversions. So one of the last changes which has been interesting in the market is the conversion between mobile and web. Right now, we have seen only a few games going in both ways. Farmville and Garden of Time by Playdom are two of them. The idea was just to take a web game and put it mobile and see what happens. The problem has been of course, as you know, the different operating system of this, which are not compatible, so which creates a lot of issues with the database, and the experience has not proven very successful yet. But who knows? Maybe in the future. And on the other hand, the mobile games like Angry Bird have launched some web application on Facebook. So we'll see that, but until we don't have a common standard, it's going to be it's probably not going to give a lot of it's not going to improve so much. Actually, some of the improvement we see, and that's probably going to be very key in the next year, is HTML5 and the Spartan project. Basically, the idea is to use one common code for translation, for programming games, which enables you to launch the game on any platform. HTML5 is one of its programming language. Right now there is some issues about the lack of users using this in this field, but it's increasing actually. So one of the things which you always should keep in mind, especially for the future, is don't think only web, or think web and mobile as possible. It's really key, because I think next year it's going to be mobile more than anything else. So I'll do the wrap up now. I still have 5 minutes for the question afterwards. So the wrap up, first, try to, when you launch a game, don't launch a game because you think it's cool or because, it reminds you of you. Try to launch something which is timed with what's really hot in the market right now. In this industry, from what I've seen, it's not so much about luck or whatever. It's really the good timing. It's like a surfer. You really have to find the right wave and pick it, because after that it's really difficult, and before that sometimes it's too risky. It can work, but it's very risky. So try. When you see hidden objects, so you need to be very flexible. And I'm not saying you should copy, but you should really absorb what are the main trends coming up. Hidden objects, there has been 2 games in hidden objects, 2 big games. It's not much. I'm sure there's a lot of space for other things. Look at what has been very successful in web browsing. There's a good chance now, because so many developers come from that industry, but some of these trends will be successful on Facebook. Use branding as much as possible. To have a good game is great. To make money out of it is even better. So of course, integration with Facebook credits, you have to have that. But think about monetization. Try to make a lot of payment possibilities, some monetization possibilities available to the user. So you can actually make revenue. If some guy called you and say, hey, I have a brand that would like to make to do advertising in your game, why not? As long as it doesn't disturb the game, why not? You can really make money out of this. Leverage Facebook innovations, I mentioned that. Launch into fast-growing markets, yes, if you can, it's much better. So that means localizing a certain number of language. Identify the important language and localize the game in this language. Because maybe, you never know, but maybe if it's in this language in Turkey that you make it. One of the biggest, in the top 20 Facebook games, there's a Thai game from SNS Plus. The game is very simple, but it's one of the 20 top Facebook games in numbers. And they're making money out of this. It's in Thailand, but they're making money. So do not think because it's not France or it's not US or it's not Germany, it should not be considered. Actually, I think in this market you should actually consider where the growth is, not where the money is. And think multi-platform from the multi-platform of the start. That's it.